Today our topic is the most inspirational Stoic stories from history. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that teaches us how to live a good life by focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. It is about finding peace, strength, and wisdom, even in the most difficult times. Throughout history, many people have used Stoic principles to overcome challenges, face adversity, and achieve greatness. These stories are not just about the past, they are lessons for us today. Let me share some of the most inspirational Stoic stories from history, and you will see how their wisdom can help you in your own life. The first story is about Epictetus, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers. He was born a slave in ancient Rome, which means he had no freedom and no control over his life. But even in those terrible conditions, Epictetus found a way to be free in his mind. He believed that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. His master once broke his leg, but instead of being angry or giving up, Epictetus said, "If you try to break my leg, you will see that it is already broken." This shows that he refused to let his master have power over his emotions. Later, Epictetus gained his freedom and became a teacher, sharing his wisdom with others. His life teaches us that no matter how hard our situation is, we can always choose to be strong and free in our thoughts. Another great Stoic story is about Marcus Aurelius, who was the emperor of Rome. Even though he had power, wealth, and fame, Marcus Aurelius did not let these things change him. He believed that the most important thing in life is to be a good person and to live with virtue. Every night he wrote in his journal, which we now call meditations. In this book he reminded himself to stay humble, to be kind, and to focus on what truly matters. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Even as an emperor, he faced many challenges, like wars, sickness, and betrayal. But he always stayed calm and focused on his duty. Marcus Aurelius shows us that no matter how successful we become, we must stay true to our values and keep working to improve ourselves. Now let's talk about Seneca, another famous Stoic philosopher. Seneca was a teacher and advisor to Nero, one of the most dangerous emperors in Roman history. Seneca knew that working for Nero was risky, but he tried to use his influence to make the world a better place. However, Nero eventually turned against him and ordered Seneca to kill himself. Even in this moment, Seneca remained calm and stoic. He accepted his fate without fear and spent his last moments comforting his friends and family. He said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Seneca's courage and calmness in the face of death remind us that we must face our challenges with bravery and not let fear control us. Another inspiring Stoic story is about Cato the Younger, a Roman politician who stood up for what he believed in, even when it was dangerous. Cato believed in the Roman Republic and fought against Julius Caesar, who wanted to become a dictator. Cato knew that he might lose, but he did not give up. He said, "I would rather be right than be king." When Caesar finally won, Cato chose to take his own life rather than live under tyranny. His story shows us the importance of standing up for our principles, even when it is difficult or when we might fail. Cato's courage and integrity remind us that some things are more important than success or survival. Let's also talk about Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism. Before he became a philosopher, Zeno was a wealthy merchant. One day, his ship sank, and he lost everything. Instead of giving up, Zeno saw this as an opportunity to start a new life. He went to Athens and began studying philosophy. He learned that true happiness does not come from money or possessions, but from living a virtuous life. Zeno's story teaches us that even when we lose everything, we can still find meaning and purpose. It's not what happens to us that matters, but how we respond. Another great Stoic story is about Cleanthes, who was a student of Zeno of Citium. Cleanthes was very poor and had to work hard to support himself while studying philosophy. At night he carried water to earn money, and during the day, he studied and taught. Some people made fun of him for being poor, but Cleanthes did not care. He said, "I may be poor, but I am rich in virtue." Cleanthes' story shows us that we do not need wealth or fame to live a good life. What matters is our character and how we treat others. Now let's talk about a more modern example. James Stockdale, an American pilot who was shot down during the Vietnam War. He was captured and spent 7 years as a prisoner of war. During that time he was tortured and kept in terrible conditions, but he survived by using Stoic philosophy. He later said that the most important lesson he learned was the difference between what he could control and what he could not. He could not control his captors or his situation, but he could control his thoughts and his attitude. Stockdale's story shows us that even in the worst situations, we can find strength and hope by focusing on what we can control. Finally, let's talk about the story of Nelson Mandela, who was not a Stoic philosopher, but lived by many Stoic principles. Mandela spent 27 years in prison for fighting against apartheid in South Africa. During that time he could have become angry or bitter, but instead he chose to forgive his enemies and focus on building a better future. He said, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Mandela's story teaches us the power of resilience, forgiveness, and hope. It shows us that even in the darkest times we can choose to be kind, strong, and optimistic. These stories from history remind us that Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life. It teaches us to be strong, calm, and wise, no matter what happens. We cannot control the world around us, but we can always control our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude. Whether we are facing small problems or big challenges, Stoicism gives us the tools to handle them with grace and courage. So, the next time you feel stressed, scared, or overwhelmed, remember these stories. Think about Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Cato, Zeno, Cleanthes, James Stockdale, and Nelson Mandela. They all faced difficulties, but they did not give up. They chose to be strong, to be kind, and to live with virtue. And if they can do it, so can you. Life is not always easy, but with Stoic wisdom, we can find peace, strength, and happiness, no matter what happens.